What's up, everyone? If you know this song, which I'm sure some of you do, I bet you can tell who has won the Veto competition because everything seems to be coming up. Memphis. Welcome to your live feed update. So first things first, we will start off with who actually played in the Veto competition. So obviously we had the HOH Memphis and the two nominees, David and Nicole Anthony, and they competed for the Veto alongside Tyler, Ian and Nicole Franzel. Memphis came out on top and he has won the Veto, which has sent the house into shockwaves because he doesn't really seem to be listening to what his alliance wants, nor what his enemies want. Everything's up in the air, everyone's panicking, and he's making a lot of enemies this week. So we're going to dive right into what's happening and if he's going to use the Veto, just all the updates around that, revolving around Memphis' Veto win. So Danny and Christmas discussed the fact that Memphis is just not listening to his alliance members, which isn't sitting very well with them. They've basically said that Nicole Anthony and David, if either or went out of the game, it wouldn't really benefit their games and it wouldn't really help their alliance as a whole. So as a result, Danny has sort of pitched the idea of really pushing to Memphis that they backdoor Janelle this week. Even if it be Kesa, they just want to break up Janelle and Kesa. That entire alliance is really hell-bent on putting the pressure on Memphis so they can get rid of one of them. Memphis doesn't really seem to be on board, however, because he's playing both sides of the house and he doesn't want to expose his side. But as a result, since he's not listening to one side or the other, he's losing enemies and he's making enemies and losing friends on both sides of the house. So it's not looking too great for him, and his basic management of the house guest is pretty atrocious whilst he's HOH right now. So he's definitely burning more bridges than he's actually making. Bailey has spoken to Janelle and Kesa and basically exposed Kevin to them. She has basically said that Kevin is talking a lot of crap about them, and because obviously we know Kevin's been sort of playing this quite ratty sort of Weasley game, going to every single corner of the house saying I'm going to save you, and in reality you can't save everyone, you've got to put someone up. So basically they've been totally sold out, so Janelle and Kesa know now to not say anything to Kevin, and they basically were full on laying into him, saying, you know, his gameplay is just atrocious. It's exactly what I said yesterday on yesterday's video, just basically like nobody really has any respect for that gameplay style. So I totally agree with Janelle and Kesa there, and I think Kevin is definitely now the person who, if someone comes down off the block or if someone needs to put a pawn every single week, Kevin is going to be that person who just continually gets put up, and as a result nobody really has any respect for that game at the end, and I think his fate's pretty much sealed. I think it's fair enough to say Kevin probably won't win Big Brother 22. I know it's very early to say that, but this it's proven in Big Brother history that sort of gameplay, or the person who ends up in that position, never really wins the game. Memphis continues to reiterate that he thinks David is the target, and basically he's just assured that David would go home. And I've seen a lot of people saying in the comment section and on social media it's probably not likely. I think if the nominees stay the same, I think Nicole Anthony will unfortunately be heading home. I think it's going to be sad either or, but at the same time I just think it's going to be a total blindside week too. I mean, I've seen Memphis saying to Nicole Anthony, if the nominees stay the same, don't worry, you're not going home. And Nicole Anthony's going to get a shock, I believe, if the nominees do stay the same, which I think is likely. I don't think Memphis wants to make any big moves. I think he just wants to get out of this week without getting a target on his back, but he's already done that. So I just don't think he wants to do any further damage, because he seems to just be, if someone doesn't agree with what he's saying, he just gets a bit angry, or if it just anything like that, it's his way or the highway. It's like a dictatorship when he's HOH, and he doesn't really want to listen to anyone else. It's simple as that. So he's basically told Nicole Anthony, you're safe if the nominees stay the same, when in reality it's probably going to be Nicole Anthony that's heading home if the votes and the veto isn't used. Nicole Franzel and Tyler were having a conversation about the fact that Memphis is not listening to his alliance at all. It just continues to go round and round and round. It's a cycle in this house that people just think Memphis's power has gone to his head, and it's basically became a dictatorship. And as a result, they just want to make sure that all five people in that alliance can head on upstairs to the HOH room and just put the pressure on Memphis so he can backdoor Janelle or Kesa. But if we look at the other side of the house, Janelle and Kesa are pushing for a backdoor of Nicole Franzel. So it's very hard. Memphis is in a difficult position because his social game has already came back to bite him, because he's playing both sides of the house. He's got somewhat of a connection with both sides, probably stronger with Nicole Franzel's side of the house, but he's just not wanting to make that big move. He doesn't want to get any blood or on his hands or any target on his back, and as a result he's just sort of beating around the bush, and he just wants to make sure that David or Nicole Anthony heads out this week, preferably David. Danny is worried that Janelle and Kesa may stay this week if the veto isn't used, and as a result, going into next week, if one of them two were to win HOH, she needs to ensure her safety. So she's talked about potentially making some form of an alliance with Janelle and Kesa to sort of just give her extra protection in this game, because I don't think Janelle and Kesa will be gunning for Danny. I think they think she's okay at the moment. I think there's a few suspicions here and there, but that side for sure is gunning to get Nicole Franzel out. So I don't think Danny's got anything to worry about, but it's always good to have that little backup plan just in case someone was to come off the block, she wouldn't end up on there. Just always having that extra good social connection to make sure that you're not at the bottom of the totem pole is always an excellent move move in this game. So I think what Danny's doing there is probably the best thing to do, but I think Janelle and Casey will see straight through it. There has been further mutinies in Memphis's alliance, with Danny calling Memphis trash and a terrible alliance member or something along those lines. She definitely called him trash and said he was a rubbish alliance member or something like that. And Nicole Franzel said she doesn't even want to associate herself with Memphis. So everyone is basically turning on Memphis, and even David said he wants to make sure that Memphis goes out the door. He wants Veto to get used on himself, and then he wants to get rid of Memphis. Nicole Anthony said she's not petty, but she wants rid of Memphis. Everyone is turning on Memphis. He is slowly becoming public enemy number one. So this HOH reign has done him no good, and his management has been pretty atrocious, to be honest, as I reiterated earlier. But I think he's got a few days to turn it around. I think it's very unlikely the damage he's done so far. It's hard to do some damage control and that sort of thing to that extent. But at the same time, he just needs to watch his back on it next week. So I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of people gunning to get him out. Christmas, Danny and Nicole Franzel all agree that it's very, very hard to get through to Memphis and get him to listen to them with the backdooring of Janelle and Kesa. And they've said that basically that the only person that they think can get through to him is Cody. So they've basically pitched to Cody that he go up there and talk some sense into him. Cody agrees that he's probably the only person he would listen to. I still don't think he's going to listen to Cody, because I feel like Memphis is just on a one-way street now. He's just like, it's my way or the highway. We're doing things my way. We're not doing things your way. I'm ensuring that David goes out this week, but David probably isn't going to go. It's going to be Nicole Anthony if the veto isn't used. I think it's likely the veto is not going to be used because he doesn't want to ruffle feathers. Memphis would only use the veto if he had a backdoor plan in the first place, and I don't think he's going to let the pressure get to him. He's just going to want to keep the nominees the same and not annoy someone else, because if he takes someone off the block, that's someone who's going to be gunning to get him out. So I just can't imagine Memphis would want to do that, and I think he's hell-bent on keeping the nominees the same and hopefully getting David out. Enzo and Nicole Franzel have expressed that they don't want David to go, so automatically there, the people on Memphis' side of the house are doing against what he wants. So there's definitely some animosity going on there, because no, Memphis isn't listening to anyone and they aren't listening to Memphis, so it's definitely just cracks that are really starting to show on that side of the house. And obviously personal connections are going to get in the way within that alliance as well. More and more cracks are going to begin to show, and that alliance is going to slowly crumble until hopefully on Janelle and Casey's side of the house they rise to some power and start to pick them off, and they're just going to turn on each other, because you know, when you're not in power, you'll do anything to get to the power. So they'll happily turn on each other when they don't have the power. They're just sitting pretty right now, knowing the fact that Memphis probably isn't going to nominate any of them if the veto was to be used. So I think definitely over the next couple of weeks, I've been saying I think there's going to be a huge dynamic shift in power, and just the social sort of the social circle of the house. It's either going to crumble or just change massively. But watch this space. That is all of your game talk for today, folks. It was a very, very quick one, as the feeds were down the majority of the day, with the power of veto players being picked and also the power of veto competition being played. But it's very, very exciting what this week could hold. Do you guys think Memphis will use the power of veto? And if so, who do you think he's going to put up as a replacement nom? Who's your favourite house guest? Are you enjoying the season? Just anything about the game, drop it in the comments, because you can have a good old conversation with a fellow Big Brother fan, and I might just jump in on the conversation as well. But besides from that, guys, I really, really appreciate you all watching this video. You are all legends. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all of that stuff. And until your next update, I've been your host, Tom Vasey. Good night.